here we go.
Oh, there we go. Hey, everybody. That took forever. Chuck Cook, Greg Siskin, Aaron Hall, your IMMPact Litigation team. We even have our cool new logo up in the corner. So we just had a hearing today, Aaron and Greg. What'd you guys think?
I think it went well. I think we got our points across. We had a judge that I think that is that's genuinely interested in trying to do the right thing, and we'll see what happens. And we're going to know very soon.
That was an understated. Aaron, what was your impression?
I think it went great. I'm gonna say that I think at first it was interesting that the judge kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit about, if I grant the relief that they're asking for, is that giving plaintiffs too good of a chance because it's better than they would have had at the beginning of the year. But I think that you and also Raphael pushed back on that well. And then after the government counsel was able to speak, Judge Mehta came back after they put their position forth, and he kind of went back the other way, and he said, well, I guess it's not me putting plaintiffs in a better position. It's the expiration of the fiscal year, which naturally takes non-plaintiffs out of the equation. And so he didn't elaborate much beyond that. I don't think we can count on that being his final decision, but it was a good sign to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because in oral argument in July, he said, any order I give will be universal. He was clearly referring to what he did do, which is everybody gets a visa. But, Department of State, get your job done. Now, that's different than he did the previous year in DV2020, when basically he ordered every Gomez plaintiff to be considered for a visa that month, and then anybody else who got it, which meant every one of our plaintiffs in that case actually got an opportunity for an interview. 12 just didn't get the interview because they couldn't get there. Right. It's always, you guys got to get the emails too, right? You're not fighting for plaintiffs. You're not rooting for us. The reality is we clearly are fighting for you, but this is an inherently unfair system. And Judge even mentioned this. This is an inherent unfairness in how the system operates. And because of that, some people are going to get advantaged over other people. And he did laugh when I said I didn't want to see him next year. But Greg, are we going to see him next year?
If the State Department basically is still operating without any change from what they were a year and a half ago. So yeah, we're going to see them next year because they haven't shown any interest in fixing the problem.
So I think maybe we should send them a letter. Dear Secretary Blinken, if you continue to treat DV2020 people as Tier 4 visa holders, we're going to sue you. Take notice. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. It's not fair. It's not right that people have to sue for the opportunity to get the visa that they were selected for.
The other thing that I wanted to point out, we've been consistent. Like you, Chuck, I get this question, and probably like you too, Greg, I get this question over the course of this case, like multiple times per day. Why aren't you just fighting for plaintiffs? You keep talking about how many visas should be reserved. Why does that matter? Fight for us. Well, we have to put it into some context. So if we're saying we want 2,250 visas reserved, we have to show him why that's totally reasonable. And so what we've done is from the beginning, we said you should reserve all visas because of the bad faith of Department of State. But then, we put forward an alternative in the joint status report and said, okay, if you don't want to do that, because we kind of know that Judge Mehta is a little bit more conservative than that, right?
And he's a baby cutter.
Yeah, and so if you don't want to do that, then take a look at your Gomez ruling and take a look at the statistics. And if you look at those, you should be issuing at least 76% or you should be ordering a reservation so that at least 76% of DV 2021 visas are issued. And that number gets to around, it depends on how many are issued in September, but maybe he was guessing like 20,000 visas reserved. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be enough or very close to enough for all plaintiffs. And it makes our 2,250 number look very reasonable, right? So we present really the context. We really present the context, and then we present the actual ask for our plaintiffs. And so that's what we've been doing, and we've been consistent throughout. And I think today it was done really effectively. So nicely done, Chuck.
Thank you. It was I love going first, but I think the key point here is that we are in final judgment. We're not going to see him again.
Right.
We're done as of Thursday. And then it's just a question of if the government decides to appeal, because we want to talk about that with you guys. Now, I did ask the judge to order them to specifically issue them over the course of the next year. Now, I know a year is a long time, but we had to provide a time frame because that was one of the problems in Gomez. No time frame was asked for. All right. So we had to, we have 134 people online right now. So I'm glad a lot of our plaintiffs are watching. For many people, they're seeing us in the daytime in other parts of the world. But I think it's really, really important in that context, because we don't do that. What's going to happen? Greg, you was going to say something there.
No, I mean, I was actually looking at some of the questions as well, but I think the long and short of it is that the judge, I mean, there were a couple of issues that he was focused on. I think one was what you're just talking about, which is, how does he do this in a way that comports with the law and not putting plaintiffs in basically taking them out of the queue and moving them ahead. I think we addressed that fairly well, saying that there's no queue after September 30th, later this week. That disappears, and then also explaining, and I think Chuck was pretty eloquent about this, about why plaintiffs, by acting to sue, do deserve something beyond that. And I think that one of the other things that, and the judge basically broadcast that he's going to have a decision for at least our case by Thursday on there. So we don't know yet exactly what the judge is going to do. He could, in theory, he could still side with the government and basically not reserve any. And then basically we're stuck with what we have. So we don't have a win on that issue until we get the judge's order, which we should know soon. But from the questions that were asked, I think I'm feeling pretty optimistic that we're going to get a reservation. And I think it's just going to be, I think the judge is just struggling right now with what number he's going to do, and basically whether he is going to have the numbers set aside for plaintiffs, or he's going to do something more general, and we'll just have to see on that.
One of the things that we had in our briefs, and Aaron did a really remarkable job, by the way, of checking the case status of all of you plaintiffs. Aaron did that. I don't know what time you were up till last night, Aaron, but Aaron did that last night. So we actually know, we have 76 people 79 people either didn't give us the correct case number or never gave us a case number. So 79 out of 900 or so, something like that.
Yeah, 861. So
861. So sorry, folks, if you didn't give us that number. We couldn't check your case, but we checked. And I would just let you guys know that we have had 149 plaintiffs, which means 356 total family members issued their visas as of last night. Well, as of the update in the database as of last night. Okay. So we don't know how many, because it appears to trail a little bit, doesn't it, Aaron?
Yeah, I think that's right. And also some of the, the data we get is only as good as what they put in. And so I know of people who have emailed me saying they approved my visa, and I looked at their case and it said administrative processing.
Yeah.
So it might be just trailing, like you say, that there might be a little bit of a lag time.
Yeah, what Aaron also found, there's 7 people in the CEAC numbers who are in admin processing, 14 including derivatives. 16 were at CEAC in ready for interview. I know, and that's 41 total people. I know that we have more people ready for interview than that are literally scheduled this week for interview. We have 9 showing as refused.
But that includes some people who are admin processing. So I don't know why they actually list some people as admin processing and then others as refused, but then tell them they're in admin processing.
I have a theory on that.
What's that?
I think it's their numbers. First of all, they can count you can't sue me anymore. I made a decision.
Right.
And second, they just bothered by you. So they're just you bother them too much. So they're going to put you in refused and then go back and check it. I think that happens.
Yeah.
We have 79 that we don't know, nor do we know how many derivatives there are of that. But so we have a pretty good handle. 585 are at the NVC, which means they haven't been, it's really the KCC. They haven't been processed because all of our plaintiffs have submitted documents. That's what Rafael made this point too. All of our plaintiffs have actually done what at least what do we have the numbers? About a third of people never do, which is they never even submit any documents.
Well, and that kind of, I was a little bit annoyed at the question from, when it came up about cases sitting at the KCC and the judge asking like, well, are they documentally qualified? And it's like, everybody submitted their stuff. If they are not, it's because the State Department hasn't made that declaration, but they provided everything that was, that they're required to.
Which is why I made the point that the KCC had done squat jack for 8 months.
Right.
On this. So anyway, I thought that was good. Again, we asked for 2,250 reserved visas for our plaintiff. We asked the judge to reserve everything, but specifically within everything, 2,250 for our plaintiffs. Now, that's a little more than 10% of what he's looking at, in the calculations. But I think we came up with that we're probably going to issue 17,000 DVs, Aaron, by Thursday. Is that what we kind of came up with?
That's rosy. I was thinking 16,000, but maybe
16,000, which is a lot less. I thought they'd get a lot more done, but I made the point to the judge, they haven't done near what they did last year. They clearly have not. They clearly have made no effort as like they did last year. Egypt's a classic example. Egypt last year was pounding out DV2020s. This year they've done nothing. And a lot of African consulates are doing nothing. Our poor Iranian clients screwed by the system once again. Now for those people, we get a lot of DMs, a lot of emails. They put me in admin processing, or I have an appointment on Thursday, the 30th, and they're going to put me in admin processing. This is why reservation's key, because you're the people that get the visas, right? So now, will every one of our plaintiffs get a visa? No. Some of you will get denied.
By the way, somebody just posted that Islamabad is scheduling DV interviews for Afghans, and we mentioned it in our hearing this morning that we actually got a email we have one plaintiff that's from Afghanistan. We got an email from the Islamabad consulate this morning denying the person anything. That they're not scheduling. I don't know if Curtis has had some of his Afghan plaintiffs scheduled, but that's pretty good indicator that they're not doing squat on there. If you can't get an Afghan an appointment that's ready to go, then pretty much they're not interested.
They don't have to do, because that Afghan is going to get humanitarian parole instead. It's nuts.
Right.
It's nuts.
And then she's not going to have any options.
Green card. It just boggles the mind.
So to Chuck's point about people who are in admin processing, or there's something that's happening that's not going to let them finish by Thursday. We specifically pointed this out. We pointed it out in our joint status report, and we actually asked the court to include in the order that they should facilitate transfers where necessary, that they should stop posts from discriminating on national origin where necessary. I don't know how far into the weeds he's going to get, but I did like his response, the judge's response to the government today when they said, well, if you reserve visas, then we have all these consulates that aren't working. It's going to take so many resources to transfer them. And he just said, well, that's relief. That's what's going to happen because you didn't do your job this whole time.
I love what he said, because you didn't spend the money in the early part of the year. Yeah. And this idea that it costs them money to transfer cases.
Right.
What is this, 1995? They got to put stuff in a FedEx envelope?
So,
button.
Chuck, why don't you, one of us can explain a little bit about what this 5 o'clock deadline is tomorrow that the government has.
Right.
What does the judge ask them to do by 5 tomorrow?
Well, this actually stunned me, and it took a lot for me not to say something, and I intentionally did not. When the judge asked the government, what number do you have? I have not even talked to my clients about it. Really? Really? I was just stunned. I think the judge was stunned by that. He has a great. I would not want to play poker with Judge Maynard, by the way. Not a chance. He didn't. It's like, or maybe he just hears us all the time. I don't know. So he tells you need to come back by 5 o'clock tomorrow with your number. If I'm going to reserve, if I'm going to throw out your argument, which I am, how many numbers am I going to reserve? And you need to give me a number now.
Right. And we were just before this, we were sort of having this discussion that it's like it puts the Biden administration in a very interesting position because, they've been taking a legal position that reserving they can't do on there, saying that that's not what the statute provides. And they've been arguing that. But once that they lose on that issue,
which they have lost, I think. In Gomez,
right.
They certainly
but once it comes down to just sort of the raw question of how many people should get green cards, it becomes, I think, a political question at that point, not a legal question anymore. And this is a lot different than last year when we were up against the Trump administration. We're now up against the Biden administration, which supposedly likes immigrants and likes the DV program. And now, they're in a position where if the judge is ordering them to adjudicate and is reserving visas, what is the Biden administration's interest at that point in trying to minimize those numbers? If the judge is saying, I'm going to solve this problem for you, the legal issue is out of the way, and you now have permission to issue, to issue as many as you tell me that you want on there. Why would they not ask for the whole amount if they have to? I mean, if the judge says he's going to reserve numbers and you have to continue processing after October 1st, then why would they at that point argue for a small number? What would be the political reason to do that now once the legal issue is out of the way? And there's not a good answer on that, except that and I hate to say it, but I think this administration talks out of both sides of their mouths when it comes to immigration. On the one hand, they talk about how they love immigration and it's good for America and all that. And when push comes to shove, their actions don't necessarily comport with that. I think we just saw that this morning in the proposed rule that just came out on DACA, where they didn't change any of the dates.
Nothing.
Even though this is a new program, this is 9 years after the original program, a new regulation, and they're still basically sticking with the old numbers on there. And I am guessing that this administration is going to have a ridiculously small number that they come back with tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Oh, I think they're going to come back with 0 again. I think they are. Now, what are we doing? Because this is because it's a political issue, there may be a political solution. So we're going to reach out. I don't know if you know this, but Greg, he is connected to everybody. Everybody in DC knows Greg Siskind. All right. So we're going to make some phone calls. I just reached out by email to someone, and we're going to try to find a political solution to this issue, because the lawyers on the call today represent Joe Biden. They don't represent Tony Blinken. They represent Joe Biden. So what is Joe, Mr. Pro-immigrant, Mr. I love the DV lottery, and of course we're going to do everything possible to issue all the visas. What's he going to do on this? I think your point is well taken, but I think there's a political solution here. So anybody watching and our plaintiffs, you should be tweeting and calling Congress, members of the administration, Tony Blinken himself. Say, why aren't you agreeing to reserve numbers? Because you've already lost. And if you're really pro-immigrant, this is what you should be doing. Because this also goes, Greg, to an appeal. Mm-hmm. The government has a right to appeal this case.
Yeah. Well, and that's going to be another question, that the administration is going to be able to really kind of show their cards as far as whether they're genuinely pro-immigration or not, based on whether they choose to appeal a favorable decision for the plaintiffs on there. If they do that, they are basically saying we don't want immigrants.
We're anti-immigrant. Absolutely. Now, also keep in mind, this case has a direct impact on another one of our cases, the Chakrabarty case,
right,
on the reservation of numbers there. Now, we drew a very different judge in a different circuit, and he may rule against us. But, that doesn't mean the end of that fight either. Right. But this goes to that issue as well. Why is the Biden administration presented with a gift, a literal gift that will help 80 to 100,000 people? Why do they spurn it? Why are they spurning this gift? When they could just say, because think about this, DOMA. You guys don't know what DOMA is. The Defense of Marriage Act, which passed in the Clinton administration. What did Barack Obama decide to do under DOMA? He decided not to defend the law. And, of course, the law was stricken down as unconstitutional because he didn't defend it. They have every right to do that. They have every right to do this. I want to ask, we have some great questions here. We have a lot of questions here, by the way. Sonny Garcia from France. Hello, Sonny. That's a very interesting name. I've never met a Frenchman named Sonny Garcia. Expectations, kind of talked about this a little bit. I expect the judge to reserve visas. I expect him to reserve them for all of our plaintiffs. We asked for $2,250. If he reserves for less, probably not inaccurate because not everybody's going to get a visa, even though the documents are to qualify. We've already learned that. A couple of our plaintiffs have, in fact, been denied because there's lots of reasons you can be denied. Literally, this is one of the many reasons I really hate the DV lottery. Any mistake, as minute as it can be on your application form, and you're denied. Anything.
Chuck, do you think he could do a decision where he separates the plaintiffs because we have a summary judgment and the Good Luck case is still moving on, where he does a set aside for Go plaintiffs, but the rest of it is dealt with in a different way?
Well, they have 24,000 plaintiffs. I don't know how many. They got like 6 different lawsuits that are there. I don't know what number they're looking for. But he has to give us a specific number. He has to, and then what Rafa asked for, reserve the rest until summary judgment.
I thought it was a good argument.
I thought it was a great argument because it gets right to the point. Reserve what's not used. You can give a final number at final judgment, but for us, he's got to give us a final judgment.
Right. So he could give us a final. He could reserve, specifically order for us, and then do what he did with Gomez, I suppose, where he doesn't. He puts it on hold till later, but allows for the but indicates that he's going to reserve everything until he makes a final decision.
Well, remember their briefing schedule is kind of set on their summary judgment. They're going out to like March or something. That for our plaintiffs, that's a good thing because that means when we win, you get your visas. Now the government may appeal, they may request a stay. We will of course fight that if they do that, and we'll try to politically stop them from doing that. But you should start being able to get visas October 1. Now, Department of State is whined and moaned about their computer system and they can't issue a visa, which we know is not true because they've done this before where they issued a previous year's visa with a current year's lottery. So we know that they can fix this. It's literally 20 minutes for a dude in India to program it to do the right thing. So you should continue to get visas. That's kind of our goal. And you're not waiting because the other plaintiffs, they're not getting visas. They're not getting anything until that case is decided. Go plaintiffs are literally first in line. So there we go. How was that? I thought it was really good for us. Synthesia thought it was great. Venkat's on. No, Venkat, we don't have anything from Judge on that case. And honestly, we did submit supplemental authority to the judge in that case on I think a Sunday. Didn't Jeff
Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday?
A case in California. And if the judge would rule on our case on Wednesday, we would submit that to the judge if he hasn't ruled in Chakrabarty. We gave the judge, we really fought back hard on that. So Venkat, we don't know at this point. Thanks, Eli. Dimitri thinks it was good. They'll announce tomorrow. Only plaintiffs have a chance. Yes, right? Well, I'm not going to say only because we don't know what he's going to do in the Good Luck et al. Cases. He may reserve the rest of the numbers. And we did ask for reservation for people, but right now plaintiffs are the ones sitting in the best position. They're in the best position. Speech was brilliant. That wasn't brilliant, by the way. It was just fun. I love doing this stuff. This is so much better than practicing law every day. If I could do this for a living, I would. Could you tell us what's going to take a med exam? Well, at this point, if you don't have an interview this week, the medical, I don't know how long are medicals good at consulates. Do you guys know? I don't, off the top of my head, I can't tell you how long a medical is good for. I mean, I don't know.
If you can get your medical done,
You may have to get it again, but most consulates, most doctors that work with consulates, don't they require an appointment from?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. But to the extent you can get that out of the way, during and they can squeeze you in the next couple of days. If you don't have the medical, then you're going to get denied for sure.
Yeah. So get the medical. No harm, no foul. Just going to lose a bit of money. I don't know what doctors charge. Okay. Nori Gonzalez, named plaintiffs in DV 2020 didn't get pregnant. Named plaintiffs all got visas, Norris. All our plaintiffs, except for the 12 in Belarus, everybody of our plaintiffs got visas. So I don't know what you're talking about there for DV 2020. Let's see. Yeah, I noticed JM did back down for this. Yeah, see, Cynthia saw that. A lot of thank yous here. What about Afghan? I mean, Greg kind of addressed this before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a we only have one Afghan plaintiff in the case, so we're only sort of, and we've been working on this one in particular pretty hard.
I think Curtis has a lot.
Yeah,
it's a goodly number.
But so I mean, one thing I can tell you is that if you're still hopefully you're not in Afghanistan right now, but if you're still in Afghanistan, you can't do anything. That was the one thing that we got inaction until we actually got the plaintiff into Pakistan on there. But and then we thought, oh, okay, now the person's in Pakistan. There shouldn't be any more excuses on there. But they were saying previously that they, until you were actually in the other country, they wouldn't touch the case for the DV. So I'd be interested if you want to email me if you're getting other communications or other information about what's happening with Afghan DV winners. That would be actually very helpful.
On the Meng Amendment, we have nothing. I haven't heard anything about. Here's the thing: now that they lost the first round with the parliamentarian, they're supposedly going to go back to the parliamentarian, but they haven't.
So that's happening this week. And they were still, as of Friday, negotiating, trying to figure out what they were presenting to the parliamentarian. As of Friday, they hadn't decided yet. So we still don't know exactly what they're doing. They have this two-part strategy where they want to try and deal with the the DACA and legalization population, get them cleared away first, and then they'll deal with the other. I mean, the legal immigrant population, which is where the DV provisions are. And I'm feeling, if the parliamentarian comes up, decides to bless any immigration language, I think we're going to probably see the DVs taken care of.
So we'll see. I have really enjoyed, by the way, a number of people are now looking at what the parliamentarian wrote and how ridiculous it is. It's clear that her time spent as a deportation lawyer with the old INS has clearly hung around her brain.
Yeah, I'm surprised the media hasn't made more of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just clearly.
And honestly, I'm a little surprised that the parliamentarian wasn't trying to be like Caesar's wife. A little bit trying to be a little bit more careful about broadcasting her positions. But basically, she just said that her problem was not that there was immigration language, but that the immigration language was essentially too generous. I mean, that's what it came down to.
Nice. Yeah,
that's how she distinguished the previous decisions that they had made, which she said they weren't as consequential.
Maybe she's maybe trying to get a job with FAIR when she's done. I don't know, but we'll see. Let's see. We activated our Liz from Switzerland. Woo! She came to the United States.
Nice.
Remember, by the way, don't dork around once you get your visas. Get on a freaking airplane and get to America and activate your visa. Don't be like the guys who got caught with their pants down last year. You don't want that to happen. Let's see. What happens if they slow roll the expert? No, the order from the judge will be specific. It'll have a certain. I think it'll have a date certain, and it will have. And we're still waiting on that. By the way, in the Gomez case, he still hasn't set a date certain, which is another kind of case that's kind of out there. Let's see. There are proportionally, yeah. What's another thing that I know is really problematic with a lot of our plaintiffs in that the consulates are not fairly issuing these visas. I mean, there are many countries in which basically nobody got a visa, and other countries in the same region where lots of people got visas. So, it's inherently unfair anyway. And I probably should have mentioned that. It just didn't come into my mind. It's only, you're actively arguing the case and you don't have everything at the tip of your brain. But a lot of people basically get screwed because of where they're from and because the consulate's not doing anything. That's the benefit to reserving the visas for our plaintiffs, is that ensures that even if your consulate sucks, you're going to get that visa, at least have a chance for the interview as part of it. Greg, do you know, this is great. Do you know when the U.S. Embassy in the Port of Spain, Trinidad, will resume employment-based visas?
It's just on the
fourth priority.
Yeah.
Employment-based visas are at the bottom of the pickle barrel, as my grandmother would say. So let's.
Yeah, if you can figure out a way to get to the U.S. and apply for adjustment of status here, I mean, obviously that doesn't apply to a lot of people in the employment categories, but if it is, that would be a better option.
So this guy knows. How do you say his name, Greg?
Olga. It's a woman, I think.
Olga? Should I think
You guy?
Well, Olga, you know that Aaron is the brains in this operation. Everybody knows what the brains are here. Aaron is amazing. Sammy was issued today. Woo! Nice. Congratulations, Sammy. That's great. I'm happy you chose us too, Zoya. Thank you very much. All right. USCIS is having websites and problems today. It's not really a USCIS YouTube video, but I'm not surprised. In Taiwan, all people cannot provide medical report that are considered as refused, even though we passed the interview. Yeah. So basically, by the reservation, that lets you get that number this next year. So, that goes back to that whole discussion of refuse that we had. Okay. Let's see. Greg's email is gsiskin@visalaw.com, or better, gsiskin@IMMPactLitigation.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Use it sparingly, people.
This is what's great. Aaron, read that question.
Why not just asking clearly for named reservation for plaintiffs? Wait.
First of all, we did.
Hey, that's the first thing Chuck said today. We listed it as the most important thing in our status report. We asked for it in our amended complaint, in our motion for a summary judgment. I just don't know how to make it more clear.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically Chuck said ideally everybody, short of that, we want our named plaintiffs.
So
that's pretty. So that's exactly what
the ask is. Everybody gets an interview. That's our ask. Can't guarantee visa issues. Everybody gets an visa. Let's see. Will we wait long for JM's order? No, we will get that was kind of the joke at the end with the judge. By the weekend, it's like, Judge, the end of the year is Thursdays. Thursday.
He'll have a decision by Thursday.
He said Thursday is the weekend for me, so we'll get that. Let's see. I'm going to open a new lawsuit. We don't have the capacity to file another lawsuit for non-plaintiffs today. I'm sure people are filing. Somebody in California did it. So, what can I tell you? Wasn't that California lawsuit? Wasn't that an adjustment of status though, or was that a DV case?
It was DV. It was consular.
Consulate, because in Florida, Mark Prada just had 3 get a grant. Then he actually didn't even he didn't have to file.
Well, I mean, there's been previous case law that seems to put you in a better position if you file before the end of the fiscal year.
Think about this. Moscow has had 1 consular officer since March. 1. And they're going to get 5. I don't know how many Moscow used to have, Greg, but they probably had more than 5, don't you think?
It's a big consulate.
Alex, keep sending to Chuck Schumer today. Ask him to help the White House do the right thing.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer is first of all, he's a big fan of the DV program, and second of all, he's the guy in charge of the Senate. If there's anybody that whose calls get taken at the White House, it's when his office calls.
Yeah, Jamal, Yemen is one of those countries that have just gotten royally screwed by the consulate. And the KCC, they just intentionally didn't process them. First, because of the Muslim ban last year, and basically they weren't working until August or July on anything like this.
I'm going to have to jump off in a second.
All right, let's just finish up here. We got a couple more questions here. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, this is the one thing we didn't talk about in the argument was the folks that got DQ'd who they didn't interview. I mean, the judge said, well, not everybody gets DQ'd. That's the KCC's fault. That's not our client's fault. All of our clients sent their stuff in. So let's see. I know one person has a DV 2022 interview in October. October 1, I think, has an interview this on Friday. I know one person that has that. But that's all I know at this point. Medical is good for 6 months. Patrice says. Valerie says for 1 year. Okay. I know Jacob's not our lawsuit. That's the good luck people. That's not us. So they asked for reserve the rest pending a final judgment in the spring. Okay. And the government, keep in mind, there is no class pending. The government opposed the class anyway, but then the government opposed the class, and then they argued, well, there's no class. Right. I thought that was particularly hilarious on this. So let's see. Yeah, GQ, Canada, Montreal's, and intentionally not doing their job as well. Time frame. This is the last question. Time frame, Aaron. You want one last time tell the time frame, Ahmed?
Yeah, I mean, so Chuck suggested that. Well, first of all, time frame is by Thursday for a decision. Assuming he reserves visas, the decision might tell them the amount of time that they have to actually adjudicate these applications. Chuck suggested within the next fiscal year. That might not seem very fast, but we know that Judge Mehta, from everything he has said and done in these cases, he is not going to be willing to tell them to put aside other work to do this. So we have to give some kind of reasonable time frame, and so we'll see if he agrees with that.
I thought 1 year was eminently reasonable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. It's been great. Congratulations, Hashem. You guys have a great day. We will not be on tonight at 6. This is our broadcast for today. But we will see you on IMMPact Litigation next Monday night at 6. And you check our various channels. We will be on live all during the week. We'll see you guys later.